For years, I have been told by friends that I need to check out Mass Effect. How amazing of a game it is, and that it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So, I decided it was finally time to change that. This video is going to be my experience playing the game for the first time, my thoughts and my feelings about it. So, spoilers going forward. If you haven't played it yourself, I will be talking about the entire game. Also, this video will just cover Mass Effect 1. Since of making this, I am still going through the trilogy. 2 and 3 will get their own videos. Starting out, I had to create my character. I picked Female Shepherd and the backstory of Soul Survivor, because I thought it was fitting for what I was expecting of the game. My character turned out a little intense looking, but I figured it fits for a strong commander. We're in the year 2183. About 35 years ago, human civilization made the discovery of mass relays in space, enabling travel to faraway stars. Since then, humanity has been working together with other alien races, learning about them, building spaceships, and building alliances. You learn quite a bit of information right from the get-go, but you also meet your crew and get a feeling of your overall place in this. There's Joker, the pilot of the ship Normandy that you're currently on. I already like this guy quite a bit. Then there's Kaidan, a marine soldier. We also meet our Captain Anderson and Ilos, a Turian. They brief us on our first mission: go to Eden Prime and recover a Prothean beacon. We do this because Ilos put our name forward to suggest us as a Spectre, something we'll learn more about later, but he wants to see how we do. Just before we set off, we get a transmission from Eden Prime. The game really doesn't wait to throw you into the world, and I love that. I barely know what's going on at this point, but I'm out commanding my own group now, Kaidan and Jenkins. This whole first area is basically a tutorial. I confused Jenkins for Joker at first and was very sad about him dying, but I later realized they were two different people. Still, Jenkins is gone, but we get introduced to a new character pretty much immediately, Ashley. She was patrolling with her unit when she was ambushed by Geth. Geth are apparently quarry and created AI robots that turn sort of sentient. There's more to it, but that will be shown more in detail later. After we move on, we get a comm from Ilos, informing us the plans have changed and to meet him at a spaceport. Except, when we arrive, we see him getting shot by a guy called Saren.
Don't worry, I've got it under control.
No, but I like Ilos. Can I save them? Oh no, I can't, can I? Well, we didn't see him die on screen, so maybe he's alive still? Oh no, is that his corpse? Okay, well... We only learn from a local worker, Powell, what exactly happened here. He also tells us where the beacon was taken, so we make our way there by fighting through a group of Geth. And when we arrive, we see Saren talk to one of the Geth. They're setting bombs to blow up the site and we have to disarm them. I struggled to find the bombs and just ran around like an idiot for a while, but I did manage with a couple seconds left. Can I do it in 20 seconds? Disarming 2 bombs? Right after, we find the beacon, and Kaidan somehow activates it. It looks painful, so we throw him out of the way, and it talks to us. We have a vision and get knocked out by it. The beacon gets destroyed, and we see Saren lose his mind over the fact that the beacon was used by us. Back on the ship, we brief Captain Anderson of what happened. It looks like Saren is a Spectre gone rogue. He allied with Geths, and we need to convince the Council, a group of representatives for specific alien races in space, of the danger. We're jumping from one cutscene to the next, and are now entering the Citadel. This is the place where all the alien races come together, where the Council is located, where military, social, and economic matters involving intergalactic laws are being discussed. But before I go in front of the Council, I take my time to look around and familiarize myself with the Citadel a bit. We are going to be here for a while before we move on again. I love this. This game does such an amazing job at showing you different races and culture. So much in-depth lore about different planets and histories. I learn about Elcor and Volis, and my god, I love the Elcor. I love how they specify their thoughts and feelings.
Alarmed response. You overheard that, did you?
I also learn a bit about all the other species through the Codex. The Codex is actually a wonderful in-game tool to learn about stuff. It feels like an almanac of knowledge that anyone can access to get some basic understandings of the world. I've always enjoyed collections of knowledge in games like that. After some time of just me reading and learning about the world, I finally continue the story. We briefly meet a new character named Garrus, who is talking about some investigations about Saren, and then we move on to meet the Council ourselves. It looks like Saren has a way with words though. There is no evidence to support our claims despite our eyewitnesses, and we're being dismissed.
The testimony of one traumatized dock worker is hardly compelling proof.
So it's on us now to figure out a way to prove Saren is up to no good. This is where Garrus comes back in. We heard about his investigations and now we're going to find him and work with him. The Citadel has so many characters. We meet a Solarian who tells us about his research into the Keepers, the little guys tending to the Citadel. They seem mysterious, with very little being known about them. We also learn through Harkin, a man we met up with to find Garrus, that Captain Anderson was apparently a Spectre. It seems like there's a lot more to the story, and I'm curious where all of this will go. We find Garrus and get some more needed information. Apparently, there is a Quarian in the Citadel with information we could use. Except, we don't really know where she is, just that she wants to deal with the Shadow Broker, an infamously unknown person holding a massive information for profit. So we recruit Garrus, I already love the guy, and are on our way to find her. I also want to say, I like how dynamically crew members get added to your roster. Every time someone joins you, it makes sense as to why they did so. We find the Quarian and an ally in the middle of a firefight. We help her, and she decides to repay us with her help in return. She salvaged an audio recording from a GIF that has Saren speaking about a conduit and something about the return of the Reapers spoken by another unknown person.
Eden Prime was a major victory. The beacon has brought us one step closer to finding the conduit.
And one step closer to the return of the Reapers.
We share our findings with Ambassador Odina and Captain Anderson. Our new Quarian friend Tali also tells us that Geth have been behaving unusually too. It all seems to be connected, but for now I'm pretty clueless to it all still. She is on her pilgrimage, something Quarians do to prove they're worth their place on the flotilla, a giant ship housing almost all Quarians. She asks to join us, as she too has personal interest in figuring out what's going on. We present all of this to the Council and they finally believe us and are stripping Saren of his titles. That's not all though. The Reapers that were mentioned apparently wiped out all life in the universe long ago, and if they are to come back, it's the biggest threat we could possibly face. The Council is very stubborn, however. They think it's a myth and not a real threat, so it's once again up to us to figure things out and stop the bad stuff from happening. We also want Saren to be stopped, but the Council doesn't want to send in fleets in order to prevent a war with the systems that he might be hiding in. And for lack of better options, our recommendation to become a Spectre is not only considered, but granted, so that we can hunt down Saren personally.
It is the decision of the Council that you be granted all the powers and privileges of the Special Tactics and Reconnaissance branch of the Citadel.
Spectres are not trained, but chosen. Individuals forged in the fire of service and battle, those whose actions elevate them above the rank and file.
Spectres are an ideal, a symbol, the embodiment of courage, determination, and self-reliance. They are the right hand of the Council, instruments of our will.
Spectres bear a great burden. They are protectors of galactic peace, both our first and last line of defense. The safety of the galaxy is theirs to uphold.
You are the first human Spectre, Commander. This is a great accomplishment for you and your entire species.
I'm honored, Counselor.
We are a Spectre now, a powerful rank that gains us many resources and freedoms. We're meant to protect and serve in any way we see fit. We operate above the law. And what makes this even more impressive is that we are the first human Spectre this honor has been granted to. Now it's time to prepare, finish any business we got left in the Citadel, get supplies and brace ourselves for what's coming. Before we head out to the Normandy, we meet one more character, a Krogan named Rex, who has been somewhat involved as a bounty hunter with a previous quest. He wants to join our crew as well. And since we're a Spectre now, Captain Anderson stepped down as the captain of the Normandy to give us his ship and the opportunity to fulfill our mission. We are to hunt down Saren and to get more intel on the Conduit and the Reapers. And we have one lead, the daughter of the woman who we heard in the recording with Saren. Liana Tesori. With the Normandy under our command now, it's time to give our new crew a little speech, and I love that I get to choose the options here.
This is Commander Shepard speaking.
We have our orders. Find Saren before he finds the conduit. I won't lie to you, crew. This mission isn't going to be easy.
For too long, our species has stood apart from the others.
Now it's time for us to step up and do our part for the rest of the galaxy. Time to show them what humans are made of.
Wherever Saren goes, we'll follow.
Wherever he searches for the conduit, we'll be there. We will hunt him to the very ends of the galaxy and bring him down.
Humanity needs to do this.
Not just for our own sake, but for the sake of every other species in Citadel space. Saren must be stopped, and I promise you all, we will stop him.
Well said, Commander. Captain will be proud.
We actually get to navigate the ship ourselves, and I want to gush a little bit about this. I love how vast this is. So many different systems with planets, every single one having its own history, element, and story. Some planets you can land on and do small missions on, others you can scan. There is a fun amount of diversity here that reminds me of different games like Spore or Elite that I've enjoyed a lot as well. This might be a good place to talk about the side content in general. There are a lot of side missions and collectible type missions in this game, and while I would love to go in depth about all of it, this video is likely going to be pretty long already, so I'll just give my thoughts on the side missions in general instead. Every system has 1 or 2 planets you can land on. They usually have some collectible materials and a dungeon that you can go into to fight some enemies. Some of these were more interesting than others though, not every quest was memorable, but some I genuinely enjoyed a lot. Like the one where a monkey-like creature steals a data module and you have to chase it down into a lab. The planet exploration is pretty alright too. I didn't like the macro controls much, I struggled a lot with it, and I wish the planets would look a bit more diverse. But I get the game is pretty old, and having this many planets in the game makes it hard to diversify them. But it did feel like every other planet looked the same. I wouldn't have minded at least a couple trees or something here or there. The biggest difference between the planets was often just the climate. Some of them still looked stunning though. I remember feeling particularly impressed by this one planet with a giant red star close by. I also liked that there were animals on some planets, making them feel more alive. Threshers were a cool enemy type on planets as well. I did genuinely enjoy the atmosphere on said planets. Alongside your main mission, you would also find several side quests. Those were all genuinely pretty good. All of them felt like they made sense to exist and made the world and story feel a lot more alive. Colonists needing water supplies, Citadel inhabitants creating drama that needs to be solved. Every side quest accompanying the main quest was vast and fun to do. Perhaps not related to side missions, but there were also these hacking minigames you would routinely do throughout the entire game, whenever you found some container to open or a console to hack. This minigame is incredibly simple and it gets old real fast, but the game throws a million of them at you, and I really would have enjoyed some variety here. Back to the story for now. We land on the planet we suspect Liara to be on. The first half of this section is mostly just driving and some combat until we reach an underground lab. We find Liara trapped inside a force field, and to rescue her we have to disable the force field by using a mining drill underneath her cage and walk through to the other side. Before we can really start a conversation with her...
What the hell was that?
These ruins are not stable. That mining laser must have triggered a seismic event.
Our drill has caused some disturbance, and the lab is about to collapse. So, we escape, not without another combat encounter, and get back to the Normandy. Here we hold a meeting with all our crew members, and talk to our newest addition, Liara. She is an Azari, and explains to us that they can live up to 1,000 years, and that she spent much of her relatively young life studying the Protheans. This is incredibly useful for our mission, since the beacon we found was made by the Protheans, and we pretty much know nothing about them. What little we do know is condensed into them being an ancient civilization that is believed to have built the Citadel and the mass relays, and was supposedly brought to extinction by mysterious means, though we expect it to be through the Reapers. She explains to us that almost all evidence of their existence has been lost, but they used to be a great race that spanned through the entire galaxy before their extinction. We update the council on what we've been up to. They tell us that there's a Geth attack on the planet Feros, which is a perfect opportunity to find out what Saren is after, so that's gonna be our next goal. Immediately after we arrive, we have to fight our way through hordes of Geth. We also help out the colony defend themselves against the Geth attacks, and in return, they tell us more about the company Exojourney, which is our next destination. To get there, we take the Mako and make our way through long roads filled with Geth. This is actually pretty fun. You can just run them over most of the time. A group of Exojourney employees is held up in a small room along the way. While talking to them, we pick up a few side quests, helping one of them find her missing daughter, finding some data. Just like I mentioned before, the side missions feel organic here. It's not long after that we actually find the daughter. And she tells us about a Thorian, and that it is the reason for the Geth attacks. A sentient, plant-like creature, thousands of years old, whose spores can manipulate other beings, including humans. The colony we met earlier was part of a test group to study the Thorian. Obviously, we continue to try and get to the Thorian and also cause some spectacular destruction on the way. The Thorian sits underneath the colony we started at, so we have to get back. There are again more Geth to fight us on the way, and we also make a stop by the Exojourney workers to finish up our side quests and also learn a bit more about the colony being test subjects. Apparently, the colonists are freaking out under the Thorian's influence, and we have to subdue them. We got some anti-Thorian gas grenades for that purpose. So moving forward, we have to make sure we don't accidentally kill some of the colonists, while also having Thorian creepers, which look like people, storm us. This game does not shy away from hard topics. One of the colonists tried to fight the influence of the Thorian, but fails to fully do so and decides to kill himself. Things like this are rough, but another reason I appreciate this game. It shows everything. When we meet the Thorian, it's giant and otherworldly. It births an Azari right in front of us, who speaks on its behalf. It doesn't want to cooperate with us and attacks us promptly. This is the first boss fight in the game. Waves of Thorian creepers and Azari attack us, while we take out the neural nodes of the Thorian. This is a good moment to talk about the combat of the game. Admittedly, I don't think I did this one very well for my first playthrough. I chose Sentinel, but I didn't really start using my abilities and powers until later in the game. I also used the sniper rifle almost exclusively, which, as I later found out, is apparently not the most popular playstyle. I didn't utilize my squad very effectively either, and it took me entirely too long to figure out how to give them better gear and weapons. I'd argue it's a shortcoming on my side because I didn't really look into it very much, partially because I pretty much just enjoyed my sniper rifle. That being said, the combat I engaged with, and the way I engaged with it, was very fun, especially once I started utilizing more of my other combat abilities. The only gripe I had with the combat were my companions often just running into danger and standing in the middle of the room and taking fire. Even when I tried to command them to stand behind cover, they'd often run out and get themselves killed. Maybe I did something wrong here, but I couldn't figure it out very well. You also get a lot of money from just killing enemies, and I never really felt like I needed any of that. By the end of the game, I had so much money that I never really spent. Once we defeat the Thorian, we free the Azari it made clones of. This time it's the real one, and she tells us that Matriarch Benezia, the Azari that Saren worked with, joined up with Saren to try and manipulate him into a better path, but ended up being manipulated herself. The Thorian had the cipher to the Prothean beacon, and Saren wanted to stop us from obtaining it. That's why the Geth were here attacking everything. Luckily, he failed, and the Azari connects her mind with ours, giving us the cipher we need to understand the visions of the beacon better. We're one step closer to figuring out the bigger picture. The Azari chooses to stay behind and aid the remaining colonists rebuild as she felt responsible for having helped the Thorian. We talked to the colony one last time. They can finally think freely again, under no control, and they're very grateful for our help and will try to rebuild a better life from here. For us, this means it's time to move on, and like every big main quest, we ended by holding a meeting in the Normandy. Liara offers to connect her mind with ours as well, in order to gain a better understanding of the cipher and the beacon's message. Through this, we confirm that the Reapers were responsible for wiping out the Protheans, but the vision of the beacon was incomplete. It's not a lot of info, but it brings us a little closer to understanding the entire picture. We informed the council of what happened and have earned ourselves a little bit of downtime. It's a good moment to get to know our crew a little bit better, so I spent some time just talking to each and every crew member. We learn that Caden spent his childhood in a biotic camp. He has an L2 implant, which is apparently controversial and caused a lot of issues for other biotics in the past. Garrus spent his life at CSEC, trying to make a difference but got stuck behind bureaucracy and rules, which is why he wanted to join us. Ashley tells us about her mistrust in other alien species, and other than that, mostly just talks about her sister. She's not the only person on the ship who has racist views. I actually find it interesting how racism is a plot strung through the entire game. Rex tells us about the genophage, a virus that Salarians produced to stop the Krogans from breeding. This was done to stop a war that was deemed unwinnable otherwise. Tali tells us about her Quarian race, the flotilla, a big ship they all live on, and the pilgrimage, a journey every Quarian takes to prove themselves useful to their community. She also tells us about the Geth. The Quarians created the AI machines they called Geth to help them in their daily life, but unexpectedly the Geth gained consciousness. This scared the Quarians, and their attempts to turn off the Geth have ended in them resisting and starting a war that was so brutal that the Quarians had to flee their homeworld. That is why they live on the flotilla now. Liara explains how Azari can mate with every species, and how mating with their own is now considered bad because of the lack of diversity. She herself is such a pureblood. And Joker has a condition that gives him a tendency to break his bones, but he's a real good helmsman and he sure loves joking around. I really love how in-depth all the companions are. Every single one of them has a story, a reason for being on the Normandy with us, and their own personal character that makes them who they are. The developers really know how to write characters. I could spend hours listening to their stories and aspirations. I also love how they make comments when you take them on missions with you. They add to the story. They are alive and they let you know their thoughts. Very few games do this aspect so well like Mass Effect does, in my opinion. It gives me some Star Trek vibes as well, which as someone who enjoys Star Trek is very much appreciated. Each companion also has a companion quest. Garrus wants to go after an organ dealer, and Tali wants us to find some Geth. I'm sure there are plenty of companion quests I missed though, because I don't remember doing any for Rex or Caden. Something that feels fitting to point out here as well, and something I actually disliked about the game however, are the dialogue options. You have a wheel with options, usually 3, but the options it shows and the actual dialogue you end up giving couldn't be further from each other at times. Sometimes I chose an innocent sounding option just to angrily yell at someone. Sometimes I thought I was being nice and ended up accidentally locking myself into a romance with Caden. Sometimes the conversation was just entirely different than expected. I've heard some people say that there are mods that actually address this issue, and I can definitely see why. After our conversations with the crew, the council informs us of a Salarian infiltration crew on Virmire. We don't have details, but we know they need help, and that we should go and check it out. This planet is beautiful. I really enjoy the scenery on all the main mission planets you go to. We have to drive through here for quite a while and fight some enemies before we arrive at that crew. And once we arrive, Captain Kirae greets us and tells us that he was expecting more reinforcements. Saren has made this place his base of operations, to breed an army of Krogan. He apparently found a cure to the genophage, and the Salarian team were preparing to destroy the base, and with it, the cure. This very obviously leads to some conflict, since Rex is a Krogan and does not want to see the cure for the survival of his species destroyed. This is super understandable, but also unfortunately not an easy situation. So we have to talk to Rex, and he's anything but happy. He's ready to shoot us. But a charm dialogue option saves us, and therefore him. I was incredibly lucky to have spec'd as much into charm as I have. I didn't think it would be so vital for the game, because without it I would have lost Rex as a companion here. I don't know if there are any other ways of keeping him, but I am glad I had the charm necessary. He trusts our good intentions now and stays with us. Back to Kirae, he informs us of the plan. We are to split up in 2 teams. His team will create a distraction for the Geth to engage, while my smaller team will get into the facility, disable the anti-air guns, and have the Normandy deliver a nuke to blow the place to bits. Kirae also asks us to leave either Caden or Ashley with him for support. I chose to leave Caden behind, and this was not giving me a good feeling. The first part of this is simple. We fight through some enemies, disrupt Geth communication, and make our way into the facility. On the way, we meet an Azari. She tells us about indoctrination of the Reapers, and how Saren was scared he was being affected and therefore used her to research the Reaper ship Sovereign for this. Apparently, over time anyone close to a Reaper ship will feel the effects and get indoctrinated. A lot of things happen next. Just moments after we meet her, we find another beacon, just like the one on Eden Prime, and with it, another message, still incomprehensible for us. And seconds later after that, we stand face to face with something else we cannot comprehend. Sovereign. What we thought to just be a Reaper ship is, in fact, a Reaper. This Reaper, Sovereign, tells us that we're just part of an ever-repeating cycle. An organic civilization rises, conquers the galaxy for a few centuries, and then gets destroyed by the Reapers. The Reapers are inorganic and eternal. They were always here, long before the Protheans or anyone else. It was not the Protheans that created the mass relays, it was the Reapers. And the Reapers will come back to destroy every organic life in the galaxy yet again. Sovereign then sends his ship, or I guess himself, towards Virmire, which means we have to act quickly now. We disable the guns, and Joker flies to Normandy in with the nuke. Caden informs us that Captain Kirahe has died. He needs backup, so we're off to help him while Ashley arms the nuke. On our way, a Geth ship flies in, and we're hit with a choice. Go back and save Ashley, or keep going and save Caden. Only one can live. It killed me to make this choice. I didn't particularly feel close to either Ashley or Caden, but I still wanted neither of them to die. Yet, my choice fell on saving Caden. In yet another unexpected moment, Saren comes between us and our path to Caden. This is the first time we're having a proper conversation with him. He tells us his motives. He seems to genuinely think that siding with the Reapers, with Sovereign, will save everyone. He thinks that if he just proves himself useful enough, the Reapers will let everyone live, and he's willing to fight me over this. Which is exactly what happens. A boss fight with Saren. We do our best, but Saren escapes before we can do any real damage to him, and just in time the Normandy arrives to get us out of here. With one last look back, we see the nuke detonate, and Ashley's fate is sealed. I really love where the story has been going so far. Everything is so interesting, and every new development feels like a piece of a puzzle slowly fitting together. Every choice is gut-wrenching and feels like it has real consequences in the world. Back on the Normandy, Liara offers to join Mines again, to make sense of the latest beacon message. And we're making some good progress now. Not only does she recognize the message to be a distress call about the Reapers, she also recognizes the location of the conduit being on Ilos, a planet sitting on a part of space that was only accessible through a mass relay that has since been lost due to a supernova in the system, pushing the relay far away from its original location, and coating the entire part of space in a nebula, making it impossible to find. We also talk to the Council again. Despite everything we have done, all the evidence we have gathered, they still believe the Reapers are nothing but a myth. Since we don't know how to get to the conduit, we decide to go after Matriarch Benezia, who has been aiding Saren. She was last spotted on Noveria. Noveria houses a research facility with experiments that are too controversial or dangerous for other planets. Normally, we'd not be allowed to bring our weapons, but since we're a Spectre, we can. We're also bringing Liara with us, since Matriarch Benezia is her mother. This whole place seems shady. People are avoiding us and don't seem very friendly.
You're the Spectre, right? Management told us not to talk to you.
A consecutive tells us that Benezia is at Peak 15, a mountain research facility that is currently cut off due to a storm, and his assistant is giving us some hints on how to make some progress here. Everyone here seems to want our help in doing some illegal stuff. One Azari offers us 500 credits for a job to distract the guy so she can hack him. 500 credits are nothing. I get thousands of credits more for killing a single enemy. Anyway, we talk to a Turian in a bar, and he tells us that the Consecutive has been doing some shady business. The Turian was locked out of his office so the Consecutive goons could find evidence against the illegal business practices that the Turian had gathered. If we get rid of him, the Turian will help us with a garage pass to reach Peak 15. Easy enough. We get in, get the evidence, kill some thugs, and get out. There are a few more political intrigues here, but we basically make it into the garage and drive to Peak 15. Turns out, Benezia had a bunch of Geth to protect her, so it's back to a good old drive and shoot section. They're fun though, so I don't mind. After we arrive, we see some new creatures. We don't know what they are yet, but there are quite a lot of them, and they are aggressive. After a few fights with them, we make it further, and meet a crew of people waiting here. They have been held up defending themselves against the bugs. We also learn that those bugs we saw and fought are called Rachni, an ancient alien hive mind race that was thought to be extinct, after a war in which the Krogans fought them off. And after we help them with some of their problems, we move on to confront Benezia. She doesn't seem happy to see Liara, and immediately initiates combat with us. It also looks like she's holding a Rachni Queen hostage. We have a small boss battle with her, and once we beat her, she seems to have a moment of clarity. Not only do we learn that they were trying to raise an army of Rachni for their cause, but also that the lost relay we need to reach the conduit was found by the Rachni, and that Benezia has its location. She gives it up willingly before the indoctrination of the Reapers takes her over, and we have to kill her. I feel pretty bad for Liara here. After that, something interesting happens. One of the dead Azari gets up and starts talking to us. Except it's the Rachni Queen using this body to speak to us. She is distraught. She was brought here as an egg, and once hatched was used to lay more eggs. Her children were turned into mindless killing machines. None of them are of clear mind, and the only thing we can do is to kill her children. She also asks us to free her, and she reassures us that she will retreat into a hidden part of space to rebuild a peaceful colony of her species. This is such a cool decision point. I could kill her, or give her entire species a new chance, and I'm all for that, so I will let her leave. I really like this queen, and I really hope I'll see her again. To contain the rest of the damage, meaning her children, we set off a purge and fight ourselves to freedom before it explodes. What's next is obvious. We have the location of the relay to get to Ilos. But before we can do much, the council intervenes. They don't want us going after Seren anymore. They are preparing a fleet to wait for Seren to attack the Citadel, and they still do not believe in the Reaper threat. Not only that, now that they think our job is finished, we're being stripped of the Normandy, so that we do not cause any issues going forward. Luckily, Captain Anderson wants to meet with us. He's offering to help us by sneaking into Udina's office and ungrounding the Normandy while we take off. Before we initiate that plan, I decided I should finish up a few things in the Citadel while I was here. I do like that I can do side quests whenever I want, but I wish the game felt more consistent about time. A lot of the time the main quests was made out to be very time sensitive, so doing side quests while so much stuff was going on always felt a little off to me. It obviously makes sense from a gameplay perspective, but it still felt weird. But we were grounded, so spending what felt like half a day just doing quests in the Citadel did feel appropriate enough to shave off some suspicion. While we do this, we see this one relay monument in the Citadel, and Garrus points out how the Keepers don't seem to pay attention to it. For some reason, this little snippet stood out to me.
Keepers never paid much attention to that relay monument. I always found that a little strange.
After finishing up here, we finally go through with the plan, and thanks to Anderson, we get the Normandy out of the Citadel. When we arrive on Ilos, Seren is already here. We have to act quick and find the conduit before he does. This means, of course, a lot of combat sections again moving forward. While looking for the conduit, we come across what seems like a giant storage hole, and just a little further we find a VI named Vigil, a Prothean VI. This conversation is a massive lore revelation. We're being told that the Keepers were left by the Reapers to maintain the Citadel until they arrive, that the Citadel is a mass relay that the Reapers can access, and once they do, they will destroy every civilization that grew to exist until now. This is what happened to the Protheans. The Reapers went through the Citadel's mass relay and systematically wiped out planet after planet, indoctrinating whoever was left just to have them betray the ones who weren't. This station here on Ilos was a top-secret research facility, and those storage units we saw were Protheans and cryochambers. They unfortunately all died because the energy needed to keep them alive was too great for the time it took for anyone to find this place. But we also learned that the Protheans created a mass relay of their own, to link back to the Citadel. That is the conduit we have been looking for. We also learned that because of the work of the scientists here, the Keepers have been altered, which led to them ignoring the calls of the Reapers and not activating the relay for them to come storming in. This is why they need the conduit. So Seren can go into the Citadel and change the controls back to the Reapers, and therefore let the Reaper fleet invade again. We also learned that Sovereign was left behind for this purpose, to stay in Citadel space and initiate the cycle. So the key to stopping all of this seems to be taking down Sovereign. This is such an amazing way to put together all the last puzzle pieces before the finale. We understand everything we need to know now, and we understand what's at stake. We tried to get to the conduit as fast as possible now, just minutes behind as Sovereign makes it to the Citadel and starts attacking. And whoa, remember the relay that Garrus mentioned? The one the Keepers don't pay attention to? That's the one we come out of, the one the Protheans created. This small detail blew my mind. Something about it was so cool to me. Having a crew member point out something seemingly unimportant just for it to be tied back to the story is such a cool move. Now, back in the Citadel it lays on ruins. The Geffen Sovereign have already started their attack. The Citadel was closed up, but Sovereign still made it in. Also, I really like how the Reaper ship looks like some sort of large insect. We make our way through to try and stop Saren from reprogramming the Citadel, and to do so we fight a bunch of Geth. The view here is impressive and scary. What we are up against is huge. Saren has gotten an upgrade since we last met him. He's been enhanced by Sovereign into some sort of cybergenic life form. He thinks he'll be spared from death if only he works for the Reapers and even offers us to join him. We obviously don't buy into any of that, which leads to a boss fight against him. This is basically the final boss of the game. We get control of the Citadel back and open up comms, and straight away we're being hit with a big decision here. One that I pretty much completely misunderstood. We can choose to save the Council or sacrifice the Council. When I got here, I genuinely thought that if I saved the Council, the universe would be doomed, since the other option was to focus on Sovereign. I figured that was the smarter option, so I sacrificed the Council in the belief that it was the only way to stop the Reapers. I've been told since that this isn't the case. But if you put me into that same situation again today, I would have still believed that. In fact, if that isn't the case, what exactly is the consequence of choosing to save the Council? So far, every choice I've made had strong implications and consequences, but with this one, I felt confused. If saving the Council has no consequence, why would anyone ever not choose this? Anyway, after we make that choice, Saren's dead body is taken over by Sovereign. So here we have final boss fight number 2. Saren looks a lot creepier now, but just like before we managed to defeat him. Shepard 3, Saren 0. The Normandy uses this moment to hit Sovereign hard, and with that, the fight is finally over. Sovereign dies and we come out of the rubble. We even get to choose the new human representative for the Council, and our choice obviously goes to Anderson. And that's it. We saved the day, the Citadel, and we didn't save the Council, but we fought hard and we have earned a rest. But this game is done, and I am more than excited and anxious to find out what Mass Effect 2 has in store for me. What will my choices change in the next game? There are so many more things I would love to point out, so many details I was impressed with, stories and lore so well done it deserves some extra attention. But there's only so much time and space for a video. I can see why people like this game, and while I'm not done playing through the trilogy yet, I definitely already consider myself a fan. If you're still here watching me ramble on about this game, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Making this video was fun, and it's going to be just as fun to work on the rest of the trilogy. I learned a lot while making this video, so I hope the next video will be even better. I want to add more animation and continue improving, since I know this video is a little rough around the edges. So, again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.